Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. It is still afternoon. Wow. Didn't even know what time it was. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the channel. If you are new here, we are True Crime. We talk true crime every day, all day. And today, the Idaho Four case is the case that we're talking about. I'm going to fix this a little bit, maybe. I didn't really fix it, but that's okay. So it looks like we've got the usual suspects in here joining us. I did come on like right on time or a minute early. They are going to go ahead and start. So it looks like they switched it now. It is 9 minutes. I'm going to leave this up actually. I'm just going to share the window. A minute ago, the channel that I was looking at to so today we're going to be watching, of course, Bryan Kohberger. He goes to court. He's going to end up, it's probably going to be 2 minutes of him saying like he waives his right to extradition. I don't even know if, I'm sure he'll be right there on the camera. I'm sure that he'll have to talk. So we'll be able to hear from him and see him for the first time other than earlier when we saw him walking into court on this morning's live. So they did have this set for 3 o'clock. And now it's set for 3:10. So we'll just keep our eyes on there. We'll just keep our eyes and ears open. And I think I have the volume up anyway, so if it comes on, we should be able to see it. So as we are doing that, we will just kind of discuss what's going on. How is everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing good. Really? Same sweatshirt, same color? Actually, I don't have yoga pants on today. I have on some sweatpants. I'm surprised. I usually have on yoga pants. I'm a yoga pant kind of girl. I was the jean girl for the longest time. And then I was like, I'm going to switch it up. Hello. Is it Let's Go? Let's Go, Brandon. I like it. It's cute. Hello. How are you? Hi, Isabel. She's back here again. She said, fancy meeting you here to Sugar and Spice. That's funny. So yeah, that's the creep. We're going to have to stare at his picture, I guess, for the next 8 to 10 minutes. Hopefully they don't pull a Tanya, and have to extend it again. No, I've had to do that before. So hopefully they don't have to do that again. It did say that his actual court hearing was at 3:30. Sometimes they don't get to you right on time. So he could be there. I mean, he could be seen earlier. He could be seen later. So we just want to be here. That way we are here. We are here for whatever he comes on. We can always take a nap. Good just here for the gossip. I'm sure we can find something to talk about. If you guys haven't liked the video yet, if you could please do so. I did have some stuff pulled up, so maybe we can look through it. I did want to see actually this right here. And this is only 2 minutes, so we'll go ahead and watch this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. So we'll go ahead and watch this while we're waiting. Let me see here if I can go back. No. Okay, so we're just going to watch it.
Murder in Ford University. So police believe the suspect charged with murder in Ford University of Idaho students acted alone as they continue to search for the weapon. The 28-year-old PhD student is scheduled to appear in Pennsylvania court on Tuesday, where his attorney says he will waive his extradition. Retired FBI agent Jennifer Coppendaffer joins us now. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining the program. I found this very surprising. He's already started to play some mind games. He said when he was arrested that did they catch someone else? This is a guy that has studied the criminal justice system, studied past killers, but his attorney says that he's going to waive that extradition. Were you surprised by that, ma'am?
No, I actually wasn't. I think he definitely wants to be in control of the narrative from this point on. And he's willing to go back and face charges, probably confident in some way, for some reason, that he can beat this.
So let's talk about this. Police, they had some difficulties capturing this guy at first. Do you think it's because, and we know he was very sloppy, so he made a lot of mistakes. We're going to talk later in the program about the DNA that they used to connect him to the scene of the crime. But do you think him being so astute to how the criminal justice system works, how investigations work, caused some problems for investigators?
Oh, absolutely. You know, he was well versed in criminology, not only having a bachelor's degree, but a master's degree, working on a PhD. This individual was very well studied in terms of also serial killers. He
Yeah.
studied under Dr. Ramsland, which is very important because of the teaching he would have received, the surveys he sent out, all the information he received from past criminals.
Jennifer, he's a clear narcissist when you look at some of his posts. He thinks that he can outsmart the criminal justice system. He doesn't realize that no matter how much you know about the criminal justice system, you can't escape forensic. What do you expect to happen in the court of law, though?
Oh, I imagine that the case is very strong, not only because of DNA, but the links with the Elantra. I think social media and his information from his cellular phone, the digital and forensics evidence, and then I would suspect that on the 4 search warrants that they served, they will find other information that ties him to that crime scene.
Yeah, Jennifer, we're not talking about circumstantial evidence right here. They're charging him with first-degree murder. They got a lot of information on this guy. Ma'am, thanks so much for joining the program this morning. Happy New Year.
Yeah, they definitely have a little more evidence on him, I think, than what he believes that what they have. I believe that he thinks that they don't have really anything on him. Or he thinks that he can beat it. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think he looks cocky enough to believe that he could beat it. I'm seeing if there's anything. I'm trying to figure out how to go about getting that the arrest affidavit after they release it. I am not well versed in that kind of stuff. Did you saw a closer pic of him? I still have it up, I think. I still do. I need to go through the whole tape. I need to sit here and go through it. Because I wouldn't doubt it if he was there. That's just crazy bad luck though, too. That, you know what I mean? That he would be caught there right in front of the camera. Yeah, we can let's watch him walk back. Actually, let's go to Twitter. Yeah, I was going to actually do that. Okay, 16 minutes ago, Bryan Eaton said something. So let's see what he said. Says, going inside courtroom now for Bryan Kohberger's hearing. Cameras and live tweets not allowed, but will update here and go on at News Nation when it ends. Hearing set to start at 3:30. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Because now it's saying live cameras are not allowed in. Cameras and live tweets. Live tweeting. And then here's him. I don't know I think everybody saw him arriving.
Hey, Bryan, did you do it? How you feeling?
It's kind of loud. Sorry.
Hey, Bryan, did you do it?
How you feeling?
How you feeling, Bryan? Bryan, did you do it?
Are you ready to go to Idaho?
Bryan, did you do it?
The last time in Pennsylvania, Bryan.
I just noticed that it looks like the side of his hair looks like it's kind of you know when men sleep, their hair gets smashed and it is kind of up. It looked like that. It looked like he had gotten some sleep. I'm sorry, but if I did that, I don't know how I would. I don't know. I know that you do a freedom of information, but I just don't I don't know what website to go to. Is that the website I go? Is it just? I'm not I am so not good at sleuthing that kind of stuff, guys. I've been looking all day. How do I get this? How do I get this piece of paper? I got what did I get before? I paid for it. It was I don't know. I think it might have been the probable cause for Richard Allen or something. I am just totally I just can't think of how I did it. And so it would be for Idaho, right? Not Pennsylvania, I'm assuming. So maybe that's what I need to look at, is the Idaho one. The county that he was arrested in? Okay. So I wasn't sure. That's what I was wondering. I wasn't sure if it was the county that he was arrested in or if it would be the county that he's like being extradited back to. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was so confused because I'm like, now there's 2 counties involved. So, yeah, let me write Monroe down because I have to look, the probable cause affidavit up because I wanted to get it for you guys so we could go over it because I want to know what's in there. That's going to be like, I feel like it's going to be a gold mine. I don't know. I just feel like it is. Oh, let me see. So they are, okay, so let's share this because we're waiting for the news channel now. We'll see. Let me see about News Nation. I thought they were playing Blue Bloods right now. And that, I know that's kind of like crazy. Let's see. Because I can get on Spectrum. I wonder what town he lived in. Oops. Yeah, it says Blue Bloods. Why isn't this turning on? Okay, I get this channel. Oh. Yeah, it's definitely not News Nation, so we'll just keep it on where we have it. Because I would rather watch News Nation, but I didn't see that they had anything on there, so. They're playing Blue Bloods. Oh, okay, that sounds familiar. Sugar and Spice. I think you're right. There's just been so many things going on with this case. It's hard to keep it all, like, all the information in order. Because I can, because I don't care to buy it or whatever. I just need to find out where to purchase it. Let me see what's going on in the world of YouTube while we're waiting on this. See if there's anything going on that we don't know about. Oh, it looks like they're going live right now. Never mind. So we're probably just going to like see this door if we're not going to see him. See, it says private news cameras are not allowed in the courtroom.
That's how it happened each year. It just happened. And I don't know how. What's the best way to do it?
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
It's going to be a minute. So we could always watch this and we'll just get some info. Get caught up.
6.
You're not that late, Mystic. No, 14 minutes. I just got on in 14 minutes. We're waiting. So as of right now, we thought that they were going to let cameras into the courtroom for the Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger's first court hearing, second court hearing, I guess. And we think he's going to waive the extradition, so he's not going to fight the extradition process. But they aren't allowing cameras in, so we're watching the news coverage.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
And they're not going to show it, no, but they're just going to kind of talk about it. So we're just going to watch that. But as we are doing that, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. If you love true crime, that's what we do around here. I'll turn this up now for you guys.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JV Buno.
The suspect in the Idaho student murders arrives in Pennsylvania court where his public defender says he'll be waiving extradition to answer to the 4 first-degree murder charges in Idaho. We are live from the Pennsylvania courthouse with the very latest here on WFLA Now. Hello there to you folks. JB alongside WFLA's Josh Benson here on the right side of your screen. Here now live with feeds to show you. In fact, let's go live. We don't want anyone to miss this. This is the one camera shot that we have, the pool feed from inside the courthouse. Again, we are awaiting Bryan Kohberger, the lone suspect in the Idaho student murders. Now, as we understand it, what is going to happen here in a short time from now, this door will open when members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office deputies will escort Kohberger from the room, the holding area where he's currently being held, into the courtroom for, again, this initial extradition hearing. He is reportedly, through his public defender, going to be waiving extradition, which will pave the way for a speedy process as far as getting him back to Idaho, to answer to the 4 first-degree murder charges. So this is live here on your screen. Also want to let you know as well, with the hearing coming up at 3:30 Eastern Time, Pennsylvania State Police have called a 4:30 press conference, a press conference that we do plan on carrying here on stream. So we're going to try to do this as a 2-for-1, if you will. 3:30, we'll bring you the very latest. We'll have coverage of the extradition hearing. And then at 4:30, we will take you live to Pennsylvania State Police headquarters, where we are expected to hear the very latest from investigators, again, in the apprehension of Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger. So we had the video a short time ago, and it's been, of course, on social media, the video of him arriving at the courthouse earlier today. Since then, it's believed that he has been in this holding area, and ahead of the 3:30 court hearing, he will, of course, be escorted from this room into the courtroom. Now, the courtroom itself, as I bring in WFLA's Josh Benson, the courtroom itself, this was a little bit confusing yesterday, Josh, but the courtroom itself, there's no cameras permitted. That is of course, that is the rule of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, that there are no cameras permitted inside the courtroom, even though they are permitting the camera inside the courthouse, really in the hallway outside the courtroom itself.
Hallway, or is that
this is what we're looking at as far as the hallway. So if they were to zoom all the way out, you would see a long hallway. This is not a very big courthouse, as I understand it. So this is what we're waiting on here as far as Kohberger's arrival. We'll go here live full screen and continue to monitor our comments here on YouTube Live, and we're about to launch on Facebook Live as well.
And I think everybody is talking about this thinking there's going to be something super interesting out of this hearing, but as far as I'm understanding, it's more of a formality.
Yep.
If he waives extradition, then, as you said, it's kind of speed up the process. If he didn't and he decided to fight it, that would be a little more suspect and would take a longer amount of time to get the process in order to get him back to Idaho.
A fast one,
So
he's like, oh yeah, by the way,
I don't think we're going to see much today, and especially as you said, we're not going to have the cameras in the courtroom.
Formality,
so
but
we're really
we
not going to see much at all. But it is interesting. The police department's going to have that news conference, so I'm anxious to hear from them, because the video today was the first time we saw him.
I have it ready on the touch screen. We can come back to this shot if we need be. This is the video from News Nation earlier on today. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office, their vehicle arriving, and personnel getting out of their vehicle, opening up the door. And I believe the lone prisoner transport was for Bryan Kohberger. We'll see him here. And I'm keeping an eye, folks, on the hallway shot. If there is anything out of the hallway shot, we will go to it. Here is Kohberger in the red-orange jumpsuit, being taken into the courthouse.
And there was a lot of officers around there. If you look behind the van, I mean, they had probably 10, 12, 15 officers out there for that kind of that walk that he had there. So that was interesting to watch.
So again, his public defender has met with him reportedly several times and has indicated that he will be waiving his extradition to Idaho, and that the chief public defender for Monroe County also saying that he is looking forward to being exonerated. And, Josh, you and I were talking a little bit about this earlier. While the court of law, this is very much innocent until proven guilty. In the court of public opinion online, the belief out there, if you talk to people online, the belief out there is that this is the person responsible. People, of course, who have been paying very close attention to this story since day one. But again, as a reminder to our audience, court of law, innocent until proven guilty. So we have a suspect in the case, but the suspect, of course, is going to be doing everything that he can to prove his innocence. He has not confessed to the crime. He is reportedly telling his public defender that he is willing to be extradited to the state of Idaho to answer to these charges, and he is not going to be fighting extradition. And so we should find out really in the days ahead as to what the extradition process is going to look like. How quickly is he going to make it back to Idaho? And then, of course, the big thing, getting the arrest affidavit.
Everybody's waiting to see that because that's going to detail out exactly why they think they have the person in this crime. And I think you said it. I think people are very anxious, in these types of cases that get a lot of publicity. And, the media, we cover this story in depth, as you know, as does a lot of the news agencies around the country and around the world. So it gets a ton of attention. And so when you see him and pictures of him, it's easy for a lot of people at home to say, hey, this guy did it. You got to be careful, though, in this case to say this guy has charges all over, but has not been convicted yet. And this is what the process is about. So I think it's so easy to look at someone and want some justice for a case as horrific as this one and want to put a name with a face and say that person did it. But until we have, the charging documents, the affidavit, and obviously the finality to whatever happens in this case. Look, they don't even have a murder weapon yet, correct?
Right.
I don't think they even have the murder weapon, which is a big piece of this puzzle as well. So I think you hit it on the head that people got to really be careful to say this guy isn't guaranteed to be the guy who did it, but he does have 4 first-degree murder charges on his back, so that doesn't look very good either. Paying
attention to your hashtag #HeyJosh, hashtag #HeyJB questions and comments, and we'll, as we await for this door opening, we'll go to some of the comments coming in on YouTube Live. If you use a hashtag on your screen, folks, hashtag #HeyJB or hashtag #HeyJosh, we can animate your comments on screen. And Mary says, we were told by Fry that, of course, being the Moscow, Idaho police chief, that they have the guy. And, of course, they are expressing a lot of confidence in Idaho that they have evidence, but we don't know what that evidence looks like just yet. We won't know what the evidence looks like until the arrest affidavit comes out and is made public. And even then, the arrest affidavit, we don't know how much of that information is going to be redacted. You hope that most of the information is available for public view and for for us as reporters to dissect. But as of right now, there isn't any concrete evidence that has been made public. But of course, the investigators behind this case, the Moscow, Idaho Police Department, very confident that they have the person responsible, even though we have Bryan Kohberger, who says that he is looking forward to clearing his name when he answers to the charges in Idaho.
And something new today, the family spoke out that we finally got to hear from them. And Jason Labar is the Monroe County Public Defender representing Bryan at this time. He says in a statement today to NBC, he says, they don't believe it to be Bryan. They can't believe this. They're obviously shocked. This is certainly completely out of character, the allegations, and really they're just trying to be supportive of their son. So they're as shocked as everyone else. And to think of a family, getting that phone call to say, hey, we think your son did this.
So
can you imagine being in their seat? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Like that,
so
oh my gosh,
they are, as we were told yesterday, they're going to be in the courtroom for this hearing today. That's coming up at 3:30.
Killers like
unfortunately,
this,
we won't be able to see it, but they were going to be in the courtroom, as was, I believe, one of the victims' fathers. Very
charming.
Did you hear that yesterday? I think one of the victims' fathers is going to be in the courtroom as well.
Gonzalez is going to be there, and he says that he wants to stare at Kohberger and let him know that
a lot of
that they are there and that they are going to make their presence felt in the courtroom.
Even Manson wrote music.
As
tried to be
once
like
we have this door open up, we will listen in.
They can be very charming.
It'll be interesting. I'm not sure if Kohberger will be escorted past the camera or if he will turn, because it'd be very interesting. I would imagine it's more likely than not that he's going to remain silent. He's not going to say anything to the cameras, but if he sees
they're definitely going to walk him in front of the cameras.
Right. That's what you
they usually do.
That's what they
in cases like this, they want everybody to see the person they got.
It's a modern day perp walk.
The perp walk, for sure. Now, explain to what this door is. Do we know, is this where he's being held, or is this into the courtroom, or?
This is believed to be the holding area.
Okay, where he's being held.
Yes, and you can see that
we
have had several.
You can see there's the
people. All right, there's the door opening, and here is Bryan Kohberger. Let's listen in.
I like this angle, guys. Get your head out of the way, officer. Wow. I'm sorry, but you just felt the presence of evil there.
Just me. I don't know anything about it.
There could be a filter.
And who said that?
That was pretty uneventful.
His walk.
But we did get to
didn't
see
say
him.
much.
Uh-huh.
He didn't say
Didn't say
nothing.
anything. So now, this is the only spot that the media can set up, is that right?
Mike, can you go back?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So okay. So let's
For me,
explain.
I think I might just use the wide shot.
All right. So let's
Oh,
explain
so they're
exactly
going-
what
he's going
happens
back
from
to
this
court
point
now.
forward. Now, JB Buno, Josh Benson here with you on the left and right side of your screens, respectively. So here's how this is going to work. What just happened was Bryan Kohberger was transported from the holding area into the courtroom, where now the extradition hearing is going to begin in approximately 5 minutes' time. Of course, he arriving about 5 minutes ahead of the 3:30 scheduled start time on the docket in Pennsylvania court. So you would imagine that it's going to start relatively on time. Of course, what will happen, as we understand that the process looks like this. The judge will confirm that he is waiving his extradition. There will be a paperwork component. I'm not sure if the paperwork component is going to happen in the courtroom, where he's going to write and finally, sign, in essence, his waiver to waive extradition, or if
I'm
that is going to
sure they
happen in a
will.
separate area. But this
No,
is
it'll
where
happen
basically
right
the
in front of
judge
the
is going to
judge.
confirm that he is waiving his extradition out of the state of Pennsylvania, where he was apprehended, and of course, waive his extradition to the state of Idaho. We will follow along now with the reporters that are inside the courtroom itself. I spoke with Pennsylvania court officials on the phone yesterday to get a little bit more as to what this was going to be like, and they said, "Look, it's not the biggest courtroom, it's not the biggest courthouse. So what it was going to look like was it's a first come first served basis for reporters, members of the media, and members of the public to go in there and sit down." So I'm not
You
entirely
gotta believe
sure
there's
who's
a lot
in.
of media there.
Yeah, I would imagine that there was a lot of interest as far as getting a spot.
But as for so no cameras in the courtroom whatsoever, no pool camera, no nothing. You can only have it in the lobby. Is that what you understand?
Yes, the pool camera itself. So this is the pool camera feed.
Okay.
And
yeah.
the next time this feed is going to be relevant to us is when Kohberger is coming out.
Right.
And when Kohberger comes out, we will know, of course, the hearing is over. And I don't believe, if I remember correctly, I have the rules, basically the Pennsylvania Supreme Court rules in my inbox here. And I don't believe that live tweeting is permitted.
In the courtroom by journalists?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Really?
I'll read this here.
Do they have to give up their phones?
Let's see here.
Well,
The
I
court
suppose
prohibits the taking of photographs, video, or motion pictures of any judicial proceedings or in the hearing room or courtroom during the judicial proceedings. Here's the part that I find interesting. Additionally, the court prohibits the transmission of communications by telephone, radio, television, or advanced communication technology from the hearing room or the courtroom during the process of or in connection with any judicial proceedings, whether or not the court is actually in session. So the court prohibits transmission of communications from telephone or
And
advanced.
if you do it, you could get kicked out of court.
I-
Be
I-
held
right.
in
So
contempt.
if they are enforcing Pennsylvania Supreme Court policy, there are no phones permitted inside of the courtroom. And
Which
so,
makes journalists' job even harder. They got to
Way
wait
harder.
like everybody else.
yeah, because then you have to come. Who knows? I have been to courtrooms where they'll take your phone. They'll say, "Look,
Oh, sure.
yeah,
They don't
they'll
mess.
say-
The judge
they
doesn't
don't mess around. No, it's like this is the rules of this building. No phones past this point, and so it's kind of radio silence.
Oh, and
from this point.
Bryan Enton from News Nation, he's obviously there. He says going in the courtroom now. Cameras and live tweeting is not allowed,
Right,
but
there
we'll
you go.
update here and on News Nation when it ends. Hearing set to start at 3:30. So yeah, 2 minutes away from what should be the start of this. But yeah, no live tweeting.
And
So
we
we're all
talked
going to
about
just have
that
to wait.
earlier, actually, what
Yep.
Brian Eaton said.
And this is a good opportunity for us to talk with our audience.
Yep.
But this camera shot, everybody, this camera shot, I would get rid of this camera shot, but this camera shot is still relevant because when the hearing is over, again, Kohberger will be transported and escorted down the hallway back from the courtroom and into his holding area. And whether or not the paperwork component for his extradition will happen,
I wonder if
whether it's in the courtroom
can we
itself, in the
rewind?
holding area.
Ooh, we can. So let's rewind it and watch him again.
They don't
They'll
mess.
say-
The judge doesn't.
Let's see. Since we're waiting, we'll just go ahead and we'll watch it again.
Now, this is explain to what this door is. Do we know? Is this where he's being held, or is this into the courtroom?
Oh, wait, hold on. I'll take it back a little bit more.
Being held?
That's what they, yeah.
In cases like this, they want everybody to see the person they got.
It's a modern day perp walk.
The perp walk, for sure. Now, this is explain to what this door is. Do we know? Is this where he's
Bryan
being
Eaton
held,
is
or is
there,
this into
yep.
the courtroom, or
This is believed to be the holding area. So
okay, where he's being held?
yes, and you can
Gotcha.
see that we have had several.
Oh, it is almost
All right, here's the
3:30.
door opening.
There it
and
is.
Here is Bryan Kohberger. Let's listen in.
How did he get an undershirt? Huh. Okay. That's weird. Okay, so he has a white t-shirt on underneath of his let me actually, it looked like almost like he had a vest on. Like, I think this might be a vest. A bulletproof vest. So maybe that's why he has the t-shirt underneath of it to keep in between the skin and the bulletproof vest. Because when you go to jail, you don't get a white t-shirt. They don't give you those. You have to buy those through commissary. And commissary, someone has to put money on your books, and you have to be there on a certain day to get commissary. Okay, so say you're in jail, you come in, and Tuesday's commissary day. Well, you come in on Wednesday. Well, you have to wait till next Tuesday. So say Tuesday you order your food, Thursday you get it. So I just don't, so maybe that's why they put, can someone explain the different color uniforms? Oh yeah, Scotland, okay. Since you're from Scotland, so green, if you're wearing green, it's misdemeanor. If you're wearing blue, normally it's a felony. If you're wearing red or orange, it's normally the toughest of charges. I think that they reserve like yellow for more, even like hardened criminals. So the red is because he committed a murder. Yeah, and he is wearing a bulletproof vest, it looks like, underneath. So maybe that's why they gave him a t-shirt to wear. So that, I don't know. I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just so, I don't know. Because usually you don't get that because, I think he shouldn't have no extra protective clothing on because he should be freezing in jail. They keep those jails at like 40 degrees so they can kill all the kinds of bugs. They should keep them in there like that. Okay, let's see.
Wave that is usually
I
the
didn't think that they would be.
wave that is usually the universal sign for actions about to
I didn't
happen,
think that they'd be coming out
communicating
yet,
back
but
to
it looks
us
like
at
they've got
various
some
news stations
officer or
across the
someone
country.
standing there by the door.
The time now, I just want to make note of this: 3:32. So if this really, if this is it, that was extremely brief.
I guess they're getting ready to come out, they think. And it's
Pick
going to
up
be
on some of the
brief.
side chatter from inside the courthouse as well.
I thought they were taking care of it at 333.
I wonder what they're saying in the background. I need headphones on.
I guess you have a whole press conference at it too. Yeah, I actually, when they opened the door, I kind of like this like long disappear, let the
Maybe
door
not.
close thing. So I'm gonna
Seems like that might have been a false alarm. I was going to say
That would have been awfully
that would have
fast.
been a record. I mean, court hearings are known to sometimes be extraordinarily short, but that might have been a record.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk more about the Pennsylvania press conference.
Yeah.
The PA State Police press conference. that they announced, and I thought that this was
This
interesting.
JB guy, he kind of reminds
They
me
announced
of.
it for.
I don't know why, but he reminds me of what's that guy's
We have to be
name?
ready
He's like the late night
on the
talk show
touchscreen,
guy.
folks, to
what's his
hit a
name?
button to go full screen so that we
Jimmy
can
Fallon.
monitor
I don't know why.
Kohberger coming out of court. But Pennsylvania State Police, they released this. Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police, Major Christopher Paris, Area 3rd Commander of State Police, and Monroe County District Attorney David Christine Jr. will be holding a press conference today to discuss the apprehension of Bryan Christopher Kohberger.
Let me rewind that a little bit for us.
Commissioner of the state, Kohberger, coming out of court. But Pennsylvania State Police, they released this. Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police, Major Christopher Paris, Area 3rd Commander of State Police, and Monroe County District Attorney David Christine Jr. will be holding a press conference today to discuss the apprehension of Bryan Christopher Kohberger. Kohberger was taken into custody early Friday by members of Troop N and the Special Emergency Response Team at a home in
Guess I better
Chestnut
get
Hill
comfortable.
Township in Monroe County in connection to the homicides of
If you
4
guys could,
University of Idaho
while
students
you're,
on November 13th.
listening
The
to
press
him
conference will
talk,
be
me
available via
talk,
live
if you
stream.
could just hit the
A
like button for
PA
me, guys.
Cats
Thank you
video
so
will be
much.
available after the event. And then it, of course, goes into the what, when, where, and the media contact for the event.
Title for what it's scheduled as, but when he goes in there and signs the waiver paperwork,
I can't hear
Oh,
what
wait,
he's saying.
yeah, this is interesting.
that's all he's doing.
So I'm just trying to think for my cat. I said arrives for extradition hearing, so I should just say just arrives for hearing.
Well, extradition, no, it isn't. You're right, it's an extradition
Okay.
hearing, that can go.
He was
numerous
smiling.
ways.
What did he say?
Okay.
An extradition hearing that can be,
You got better hearing than I do.
but he is, yes.
Okay.
He was walking in.
Do I, though?
Oh, I can't hear a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm listening.
It's all correct.
Just wait till you get older, JB.
If they would stop
Hearing not to
talking,
have-
we
yeah.
could hear it.
Some of the normally off-camera interactions that occur when we're talking about what's that now?
Yeah. He's in the hearing right now.
Oh, okay.
All right, cool.
Yeah, just confirming with our team here. Thank you, Jim.
He can really hear well. Jim can.
He must, and he's older than both of us.
Yeah.
So
what's
he-
his secret?
He has superb hearing. Shout out to Jim Hockett. He has Bryan Kohberger has according to this court officer waived extradition, and what he's doing now in the courtroom itself is signing the paperwork necessary for him to formally approve and legally approve of his own extradition. So yeah,
And I
this
guess
was
the
quick.
logical question now too is how long now before he is extradited back to Idaho? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yep. And the
Probably
judge
today.
might be announcing that here shortly. That answer might also come at the Pennsylvania State Police press conference, although that would surprise me a little bit. I'm sure it's possible,
They
but
haven't
that's
said
going to
when
be
the
one,
press
if they
conference
take
was, though,
questions,
have
one of
they?
the questions is going to be when is Kohberger leaving the Pennsylvania jurisdiction, and it'll be interesting to see if we get an answer on that. But all of this unfolding over the next hour or so, folks. So if you're just joining us, JB here with you live on WFLA Now. Josh Benson, Bryan Kohberger, the Idaho murder suspect. He is currently in the courtroom waiving his extradition, signing the paperwork necessary. What will then happen after that is he will be escorted here by court personnel, by members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, I believe. They're going to be escorting him down the hallway back to his holding area. He will be transported back to the Pennsylvania Correctional Facility, awaiting his official transport. And I believe, of course, then it will be up to Idaho to arrange for transportation to bring him back to the state.
You know,
So-
it's interesting storylines too is just what we see on social media and what everybody talks about in terms of, all right, how was he apprehended? How did they tail the car? You know, they found the car at the parents' house. That's something that came out today. The dad had traveled back to Pennsylvania with Bryan in the vehicle. There's some speculation on if they both, I think there was 2 tickets that they got pulled over twice on the way back. Now we're seeing some speculation that may have not happened from police. So we don't know the true story there just yet. But also seeing things, you know, what kind of inmate was he in the jail? I saw some things on social media saying, hey, you know, he was going crazy and he was threatening people. The Monroe County Correctional Facility warden came forward, I know, to CNN and said that he has been a model prisoner who has not caused any problems during his time in detention. That's according to a source familiar with Kohberger's status at the facility. So this just kind of shows you that there's so
Guess
much
who wasn't?
information out there and storylines that are happening so fast, and it's
Yeah, I
kind of
guess
tough
that
to
lady was a
decipher
little
like what
crazy.
really is happening in terms of, what's true, what's false, and what do people want to believe.
Oh,
I think a lot of
he's
people out there
coming out.
think this is public
Maybe.
enemy number one and want to believe he's.
Hold on, Josh.
Thank you.
I know they're not gonna move from that spot.
So yeah, we're definitely gonna try to work out. Yeah, appreciate it. Do you mind hanging out 1 second? I'm just gonna clear bathrooms, make sure that nobody has.
So this is the court personnel preparing for this to be over with, and for him to now come back down the hallway. So we'll stay on this now full screen with audio fully up, but we'll try to listen in with everybody else watching wherever you're watching from once Kohberger arrives down this hallway.
This building's closing up at 5, right?
4:30 usually.
I'm sorry, Josh. Did you want to finish that
No,
point, though?
I was just thinking, this Kohberger's attorney, he was on Today's Show this morning as well, and said in an interview, he was shocked a little bit when he was arrested. Well, first of all, I'd be shocked a lot if I was ever arrested. But he was shocked a little bit, he said, and he believes he's going to be exonerated. This is what the attorney for Kohberger said in an interview today. So along with what the family is saying, they're shocked to hear these allegations. They say this couldn't be our son. These are things that are now coming out from the family and from Kohberger himself. So it's until he gets back to Idaho and until we see some more evidence of what happened in this scenario to get him to be this #1 suspect. There's going to be a lot of storylines on social media. We just got to be careful about what we report and what we follow as truth.
Yeah, sleuthy goosey. I'm paying attention to some comments here, but we're also trying to get ready for Kohberger's next appearance in the hallway. Says hashtags for both of us. The lawyer, Labar, says he got tickets, but he hadn't seen them, didn't know what they were. Indiana State Police say they have no record of stopping either Kohberger. And this is based on reporting by Fox News that on the trip in mid-December, on the trip home, Kohberger and his father, according to Labar, the attorney, that they got pulled over twice in Indiana. And Indiana State Police saying that there was no record of them getting pulled over. And that would mean, of course, that there weren't any tickets given.
Right.
But yeah, that was another nugget that came out from Fox News. As all these as interviews are done and questions are asked, this is how we get information between now and the arrest affidavit being released. Right. We've got the audio up on full blast. We also have it full screen for you for, again, Bryan Kohberger exiting court.
Let's see.
They start right at 3:30?
Yeah, they're right on time.
Oh my lord.
They're starting to walk.
Walking.
Here we go.
Do we got bathrooms? They should be cleared.
You can hear the shackles, it sounds like. Thought I could anyway. Why do they have the littlest dude, though, with him, walking him, hand in hand with the arm? And Jocelyn plays, yeah.
Departing. Departing.
They did have the smallest officer, though, walking him. They had all these big guys around him. That's a lot of people. How many officers was that? 10, 12?
Departing.
Wonder what happened. Oh, I don't know.
Here's JV Buno.
Is that it? And then they just like cut that off?
Pennsylvania court waiving his extradition, sending him back to the state where he is expected to answer to 4 first-degree murder charges in the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. JB Buno, Josh Benson here with you live on WFLA Now across all platforms. So the extradition process is now in the rearview mirror, according to the court officer there, and we are now awaiting word as to when exactly the extradition is going to happen for the Washington State University student accused of 4 gruesome stabbing deaths at the University of Idaho inside of a college residence back on November the 13th. Josh, so we have seen Kohberger arrive, depart. This was all done within really a 15-minute time.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of confusion as to what just happened. So let's just go through what this hearing was all about. So extradition is a procedure where one jurisdiction will pretty much acknowledge with another jurisdiction that there's probable cause to bring someone back and arraign them there for prosecution. So that's what we're seeing here. One of the agencies bringing into this court hearing, Kohberger, has decided to waive extradition, meaning he wants to get back there to Idaho as soon as possible to try to be exonerated from this crime. And that was...
I'm going to pause that so we can go back to it if we want, because he just has these. Okay. It looks like he's putting them up now, so I'll have to give him a minute. He's just now tweeting some stuff. I think it's just going to be what we've heard, though.
Was set at 3:30, so it's what, quarter to 15 minutes. That's all it took. It was supposed to be a brief hearing. It was. Now he may have frame, but that could be the time frame that they're looking at. The Latah County prosecutors have said the affidavit for 4 charges of first-degree murder will remain sealed until he is returned, and he's also facing a charge of that felony burglary charge as well.
Just like I'm sure there was high demand to get a seat, if you remember the press in Pennsylvania for today, I'm sure that there was, if not higher demand, to get phones activated so that reporters in the courtroom could tweet out. Bryan Enton, I know, has received his phone, and he is tweeting as we speak. He's got a series of tweets coming in, and we'll start here with the first one. Bryan Kohberger waived his extradition hearing. He had to sign a waiver in court. The judge explained to Kohberger the charges against him in Idaho and that he was voluntarily allowing authorities to transfer him to Idaho. Really, this is very routine.
Yep.
Exactly what we expected would occur. It was quick. It was to the point.
I was just kind of laughing
I think Pennsylvania, with the press conference, again, if you're just joining us, the Pennsylvania State Police, they have called a press conference at 4:30, and we're going to have that press conference here on WFLA now. The exact reason for the press conference, it might just be, and I'm speculating here. I'm admittedly speculating here. It might just be because they have been inundated with so many questions on the Pennsylvania side of things that they want to do a press conference just to answer questions, and then once we have Kohberger being transported, it's just them signaling that this is no longer a Pennsylvania case. This is going to be an Idaho case from this point forward, so it might just be them, kind of crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and being done with this section of this story. But this is Kohberger being transported back to the holding area. He will be taken to the Pennsylvania Correction Facility where he was this morning, and then of course they will arrange for his transportation, his extradition back to the state of Idaho.
And I think this is where you're going to see online a lot of people saying this is where the case truly starts, because now they have a lot to prove in the fact of 3 questions. Okay, the motive. What was the motive here? Why did he allegedly do this? Did he know the victims? That's another big question that needs to be answered, and hopefully we get some of these answers when he's back in Idaho. And what evidence do police have against the suspect? And where's the murder weapon? That's another one. I know that his family, that's a big one. They want to find that murder weapon. I don't believe they have it. We haven't seen anything that's indicated that they do. But those are questions now that need to be answered, and that's why you're going to hear about everybody saying now is where the case really starts, because until we see that charging affidavit, until we see some information why the police feel so strongly that this man committed the crimes, we're kind of in that middle
Like,
ground,
that's
waiting
like,
to see.
I don't know how
the
they got
next
such a
step.
good deal.
We're paying attention to your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh questions and comments coming in on social media. Josh, well, let's pay attention
And
to Twitter
and someone
too.
was reading,
We'll try
I was
to
gonna
answer as
read
many
this
questions
comment.
as
It
we
says, "Do you
can.
believe Bryan
We are
will
now
change his plea once
awaiting a
affidavit is
4:30
released, or
press
does he know the
conference
evidence
with Pennsylvania
against
State
him
Police,
already?"
where they are going to be
Obviously,
answering
he knows
questions
what he
on
left
the
at the
Pennsylvania
scene,
side
I'd
of
say.
things. Chloe wants to know, hashtag HeyJB, do you think Bryan will
picked him
change
up.
his plea once the affidavit
probably
is
been playing
released,
it
or
a lot
does
in his head.
he know
You know
the
what I mean?
evidence
Like,
against him already?
even if he
Let's
thought,
make this
"Okay, I
clear.
got away
He hasn't
with
entered a
it,
plea.
I
He is
did
no,
it,
he is not
got
yet
away
in the
with it.
jurisdiction where
Going
he is
home.
facing these charges.
As soon
So
as those
he has to
officers
be
knocked on
physically
the
in the
door
state
and
of Idaho
arrested him,
for
that's
him
all
to
that would
answer
be
to
playing
these
in my head.
charges in
Like,
front of a
how did
judge.
they catch me?
So
What did I
that process
leave? What
is
did I do?
so
Oh my gosh,
we.
this
I
was-
think there's
this
this
is what it
assumption that,
was.
of course, that he is going to plead not guilty. It certainly sounds as if he's going to plead not
did it-
guilty, but make
let
no
me see
mistake
about
about
Bryan,
it, he has
too.
not entered a
Didn't
not
someone
guilty
send
plea
me
yet.
something about that?
Does he know the evidence against him already? Is an interesting question. The arrest affidavit, of course. Does Jason Labar have that information?
Bryan
Him being a
has to do.
Pennsylvania public defender. That's
Or
that's a question that I really don't know the answer to that
He's
question.
only
It's actually a
still
very
tweeted
interesting
out
question.
one, but it says
Does
one
his
of three. But it says
Pennsylvania
Bryan,
attorney have
Kohberger waived his
the details
extradition hearing.
regarding
He had to
his-
sign
Privy
a
to the
waiver in
information
court.
ahead of
the
time.
The
evidence.
judge
Yeah, privy
explained
to the information
Kohberger
before
the
it's
charges
released
against him in
publicly.
Idaho,
It's a great question.
and that he
Because
was
it is sealed,
voluntarily
I don't know
allowing
how-
authorities
how
to
sealed?
transfer
Yeah,
him to
I don't know.
Idaho.
I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer
I
either.
don't
That-
know.
but that's a very, very.
Oops, I didn't mean to share this one, but
But look, that's something that we'll try to get
'Cause we have till
details on
4:50.
whether or not is Kohberger waiving his extradition, knowing the evidence against him. I would imagine that by now, word has received that he's received word.
I hate
What
to
we
make
know,
like a-
what we are hearing is that reportedly through law
sure.
enforcement sources, okay, that there is a DNA component to this, a DNA match of some kind.
I'm trying to think of.
We
what I
also
should
know
do.
that the Elantra, the white Elantra that we can say now, was discovered at his property, or what police believe to be the white Hyundai Elantra that they have been searching for.
Yeah, I wasn't really talking.
So,
I was just kind of thinking. Out
He has to
loud.
know that. He absolutely has to know that to some extent, to some degree, through his
I'm trying to think
representation.
of what I should do. I'm
However,
trying to
whether or
think
not he's
because
aware of the
it's
evidence, that's a really good question.
4:00.
Did you is that feed still up? Do you see anybody come out of the courtroom, or is
The
that
feed is
raining
down.
outside?
Okay.
They have ended the pool feed, so this is but there is. Yeah,
Well, because my question is, the father of one of the victims, Steve Concalves, of Kaylee's dad, she was the 21-year-old daughter, his daughter who was murdered. He was in there, and essentially he's
I was trying to see if
positioning himself to be
I think
pretty
this
much
guy
the
actually did another video on
victim
TikTok. That girl's nuts, though.
who wants to be the face of the victims for this case, so to speak. So he was talking to NBC News earlier. He says, "I want him to be sick of seeing us and sick of knowing that these people won't let it go. It's
It
a
is
battle
gonna
of
be hard to get
wills,
an
and we'll see who
impartial
wins."
jury. You're right.
So this
I
dad,
think so too.
as fired up as he should be, is going to make his presence known, and has today. He was in that courtroom for that hearing, as far as we
wish I could
understand today,
edit.
and it sounds like he's going to be everywhere he can possibly be
My
for every step of the way on this case.
I was just checking because we had planned,
gonna
and
go
we've been working on
I'm
this over the
gonna
course of
take
today.
my dogs
Planned to
for a
have
quick walk, I
access
think.
to some camera feeds outside the courtroom, because now, just like we saw him earlier, and I'll punch up this video, just like we had the video of his arrival, there's now going to be the video of his departure, and whether or not is there going to be a crowd of some kind that gathers in the area where they're going to transport him back to the Pennsylvania Correction Facility. I just checked our feeds. There are no active feeds outside the courthouse, which means that the camera crews that we have access to, they haven't powered on their signals. If they do power on their signal, believe me, here in the Stream Center, we'll be able to tap into it just like that with the touch of a button. I'll be able to take you to live outside the courthouse, where he is going to be then transported back to the correctional facility where he began his day awaiting extradition to Idaho.
Okay.
Lisa with a really good question. Lisa, will they drive
think
or
of what I
fly
can
him back to Idaho?
That is a
I think
good
the
question.
It's another really good. This is why
I think they've done both in the past.
they
press
have
conference at
extraditions
4:30
can be done via
PM.
air. It can be done.
I'm sure at flying,
pet
because it's
taking.
pretty far distance. How far distance is it? I mean, it would be just quicker to.
Just don't fly Southwest.
It's very,
Sorry,
very fair point.
I couldn't avoid.
Hey, but they're back on track, right?
Right.
That's what we've been reporting.
Couldn't
They're
avoid
that was,
the
that was a good one,
opportunity
though.
there.
Yeah,
It's
that
just
was a good
softball
one.
toss there.
That was a good one.
So will they drive or fly him back to Idaho? I guess. Look, I guess we will find out. And that might those details might have been discussed briefly in court as to what the extradition process is going to look like. Did Bryan Ensign
turn my
finish his
camera
tweeting?
off and I'm going to mute myself.
see.
I'm going to go take my dogs on a quick walk because it's not raining right now.
Keeping an eye on our
that-
feeds
and
here.
I'll
Yeah,
be
okay,
back
so I'll
by
read the rest of
4:15.
Bryan Ensign's
I'll be
tweets.
back in here, but I should be
Kohberger told
back
the judge
before
he is
then, but I
not
just wanna
on
make
any
sure. So I'm
medication
gonna
that would
leave you guys in
impact
the
him
chat.
making the decision.
If you want, you can
The judge
talk to each
said
other.
he has to
Whatever
be sent
y'all
to
wanna
Idaho
do.
within 10 days.
Or if you want to come back, but I'm
10
going to
days.
leave it up. That way, I don't have
I
to
would
do
have thought
another
72 hours,
thumbnail.
but
And then just
All of
seconds
that
ago,
stuff.
Kohberger came into court and made eye contact with his family,
see if I can maybe
sitting in the
change it
front
on my
row.
phone.
He nodded at them. His mom cried, and his sister comforted the mom. A deputy brought her tissues. So Kohberger, according to Bryan Ensign, made contact with his own family clearly emotional in the courtroom. Whether or not there was any moment of eyes meeting or if there was any moment of Kohberger seeing any of the victims' families, that hasn't been. Look, we're going to get all this information over the course of this live stream. We'll get more details
And
as
then
soon as it comes
83%
out. But as of
you
right
guys
now, that's
thought
what we're
that he
going
did
based
this
off of
alone,
our friend Bryan Ensign.
which I figured.
We'll go over to back to some other comments.
Okay, so
and look, I would imagine he doesn't want to sit in jail for 10 days.
love you guys so
You know,
much.
if he
Thanks for
believes that
waiting
he's
for me.
innocent and
If
wants to
you're
fight
new
this,
and you're just joining,
I don't
am
know how
just
much
running
control
my
he
dogs
has
out
in
for a
making
quick
it
15,
fa-
10
happen
minute walk.
faster
Be back by
than
4:15.
10
No
days,
later
but
than
that's what the
4:15.
judge
Probably
set as
before
the
then.
limit.
And then I
Sierra
will turn this up
Travels.
for you guys. That way you guys have
What would have
something to
happened had he
kinda
not
watch
waived
and talk
extradition? So
about
then
while
they have to fight
letting the
for
girls out. So I
extradition,
didn't
and that
realize
would
they were
have
gonna do a press
elongated
conference,
the
so I wanna make
process.
sure we don't have to,
And then
like,
it's
stop the
also
video
look
and
in the
come back.
the
You
court
know,
of
it's
public
just easier.
opinion.
So I will be really fast,
That's
guys.
not going to help your if you're fighting extradition. That says something. That says something
Well,
about
it sends the wrong optics.
It does. Agreeing to extradition and saying you're looking forward to being exonerated, that sends a very clear message that you're looking forward to clearing your name.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a benefit to fight it unless you're trying to build a case from where you are, but you can't really build a case unless you know really what you're up against. So it's kind of a moot point.
We'll continue to take your questions and your comments. I want to get this out there though as well, and we'll put away Sarah's comment here for just a moment. Fox News reported this afternoon that Bryan Kohberger's defense team, not his attorney, his defense team, hired investigators, and that those investigators arrived at the home where he is accused of fatally stabbing the University of Idaho students in Moscow. 3 men, I'll read this, 3 men, 2 women, this is according to Fox News, arrived at the King Road house at about noon Eastern time, spent 45 minutes taking video inside and outside of the property. 4 of the investigators left after touring the home, while a crime scene reconstruction analyst, remained. Very, very interesting report from Fox News. So this is we're starting to get the inklings of a considerable legal showdown here between the prosecutors in Idaho and between Bryan Kohberger, who isn't just going to be represented by his defense team, but also too, this is somebody who is studying criminal justice,
right?
Somebody who has a bachelor's and a master's degree, Josh,
right?
In fields related to the exact situation that he finds himself in, which of course, in and of itself is interesting to say the least. So how he now goes about proving what he claims to be his innocence is going to be really the major storyline now going forward. But really, everyone's just waiting for this evidence to drop because, if the evidence is concrete, it certainly points to look, everyone wants justice. Justice is the word that's on the tip of everyone's tongues. The 4 University of Idaho students, their families have been devastated by this just terrible act of evil. And if this is the person who committed the crime, then everyone wants there to be justice. And what justice looks like will take shape over the coming months.
Now, I want to address a tweet too from Elena Clemens saying Steve Goncalves said he would be in the court in Idaho. He did not say he was flying to PA to attend BK's extradition hearing. Please report accurately. All right, I was going off the fact that he's saying that he's going to be wherever he can be.
I'm sorry. Wait. What did we have incorrect?
This woman is saying Steve Goncalves said he would be in the court in Idaho. He did not say he was flying to PA to attend BK's extradition hearing. Please report accurately. So if I have that incorrect, then I've seen it incorrectly a few different times on other news agencies.
Let's get that.
So that's why I was hoping if we could see people coming out of the courtroom, because then it can verify who was there and who wasn't.
Yep. And what's interesting too, again, was so Steve was going to be at the Idaho court hearings to look him in the face and let him know this is not going away anytime soon.
Okay, so maybe that was.
Yep. No, but you
That's
know
what
what
I
though?
mean then. Thank you, Elena, for. I'm going to give you a like. There you go.
That's also been part of. I might have had that incorrect too.
But you know what? I think he, as a father, I think he's going to be everywhere he can be. I think if that happened to my daughter, you can bet I would be anywhere I could be at any time, because this is something that his daughter was ripped from his life, and if this is the prime suspect, then
yeah, I got a similar tweet. So my apology, I misspoke too. That Steve was not
that might
in
be
the courtroom
incorrectly
today.
Across the.
So our apologies there for that inaccuracy. That Steve Gonzalez is going to be at the legal proceedings in Idaho, and not today in Pennsylvania. So excuse us. Apologies. I misread that as that he was going to be in court today. Yeah, and people who are saying online that there's video of him already leaving, I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, I was really hoping to have that feed here, folks, but I do not control the camera crews outside of the courtroom. And
there's not a lot in terms of tweets either. In terms of, it was such a short hearing.
Yeah, I see
really
video
nothing.
of Kohberger leaving court.
Yeah.
So we were hoping to have feeds from outside of the courthouse.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, we don't have a camera inside the courtroom, so we didn't get to see who he looked at, how he acted, all those details. We can get them from the reporters who were in there at the time, but phones, tweeting, video wasn't allowed inside the courtroom.
So let's go back to the comment section. Thank you for the understanding there as we corrected the error. Gianna Marie, #KJB, is it true wanting to represent himself in Idaho? I haven't heard anything of the sort about him representing himself in Idaho. But that'd be
probably not advised.
No, but
from his public attorney.
We have seen cases where you represent yourself and things go off the rails.
Yep.
So this is interesting. Mom. My mom does not look like that. My mom doesn't look like that. So this is not my mom. Someone's mom, but it's not my mom. #KJB, will he stay in Idaho forever? This is a very interesting question. So look, he's being extradited to Idaho. He's going to answer the charges. And he's not leaving Idaho until that legal process plays out. Mm-hmm. And if he is convicted, then, again, we don't want to go too far down this hypothetical. But if he is convicted, you're facing either, look, that case could go capital, and we're talking about the death penalty being on the table. We're also talking about the possibility of life without parole. So, again, this is somebody who is looking forward, reportedly looking forward to clearing his name and to being exonerated, saying that he is not guilty of the crimes that he has been accused of. If he is able to prove his innocence, and if it's determined that he is not responsible for the crimes, plural, the answer to this question is likely no. If he is convicted, the answer to this question very well might be yes, depending, of course, on the legal process and how it plays out. But there is so much navigating that needs to be done between A and Z. We're not even, I mean, he hasn't even arrived in the state where he's supposed to answer these charges.
You know what I find the most fascinating too is how quickly information can be discovered on somebody.
Yeah.
In this day and age, with just so many people, a lot of you watching right now, the ability to just tap in and find information so fast is just unbelievable to me in this day and age, because we have a whole profile on this guy of what he did, where he went to school, how he acted when he was in class, you know, where he drove, what kind of car he had, and, you know, who he hung out with. We've had people, close personal friends and exes, reach out to us saying that, you know, they were with him or they were friends with him. And that was all within the first few days. So, I mean, the information travels so quickly. It's just wild to me that, you know, in this day and age, how much information you get so fast. But that can also be bad, too, because that can also lead you down rabbit holes where you start to believe things that aren't true. So, again, I always come back to, we got to wait and see what the information and the evidence is before we really move forward on this.
So our NBC sister station, NBC Philadelphia, they had a reporter in the courtroom by the name of Deanna Durante and tweeting, Bryan Kohberger remained calm, stoic in court, answering a judge's questions and telling her he is waiving his right to extradition and return to Idaho willingly to face 4 counts of murder and that burglary charge. Live updates coming your way on their station. Interesting, just the words there, excuse me, calm and stoic in court. Take that for what you will, folks. Let's go back to the comment section. And I just had a really interesting Victoria Patrick. Yes, if we have a feed now, it's my job here to organize feeds. It's what I do.
I did see
here in the
coordinates.
Stream Center. Yeah. So as far as getting that feed, that I'm here in the Stream Center. This entire room is designed to bring in live feeds and distribute it to you wherever you're watching from, and to make it as accessible as possible. That's the whole mission statement.
Air traffic control.
That's right. And
see, it's like an air traffic control center.
It certainly is. And what we'll try to do is we will try to provide, if the feed comes in, it's a tap away on a touch screen and we take you to it. But I worked all afternoon to ensure that we would have that feed, and that feed is coming up in about 24 minutes time. 4:30 Eastern is when we're expected to have it. Autumn is the best. Hashtag HAB. I think he pleads not guilty. I think that is the more likely scenario. And here's the one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name. GNRBABE. Hashtag HAB. Will the trial in Idaho be televised? So I talked to a lot of states and a lot of court officials, and I always call them up, and it's always my first question. What is your courtroom policy for live feeds inside of the courtroom? And I want to make this clear, every state has different rules when it comes to the transparency of their courtroom. Pennsylvania's rules were made very, very clear to me yesterday that the courtroom itself is off limits, but the courthouse isn't. It's kind of an odd quirk, right? That we were able to get hallway access, but not courtroom access. But look, every state has their different rules, and we'll find out what the rules are in Idaho.
Hey, I want to give a hat tip out to Mabel Quintanilla. She just gave me forwarded me a tweet from John Webb, who's a reporter out at, looks like North Idaho reporter KHQ TV. Says Ann Taylor, the chief public defender of Kootenai County, will be representing Bryan Kohberger in the state of Idaho. Reached out to her office just now, but was sent to her voicemail. So now, thanks for posting that. I will look and see if that continues to be the name that is going to be surrounded by his defense. Appears to be. So if that is the case, you're going to hear a lot about her. So we'll start digging on that, get some more information on who's going to be representing. But according to this reporter, it's Ann Taylor, Kootenai County. Thanks, Mabel, for forwarding that on.
Katie, hashtag HAB, do you think Kohberger is guilty based on body language and overall attitude? So no one can answer this question. And I bring this up just to, this introduces us to this, the conversation that we were having earlier about how people look at his eyes, he's guilty.
because they want answers. The people just want to know things so fast. But that's a fair question, because there are body language experts out there who will take a serial killer and look at the mannerisms and the body language and actually make a discernible, judgment on, yes, this person has tells and this person has things that you can tell when they're lying or whatnot. So, I mean, there's definitely a science to it. I mean, the average person like you or I couldn't probably figure any of that out. We could assume we did, but yeah, it's too dangerous at this point to make those kind of jumps in a case like this, because there's just so much more work to be done and so much more information that the public just doesn't know yet.
And of course, we've heard so much confidence being expressed by Chief Fry in Moscow that they have their guy. But I want to remind our audience, we're very early on in this process. The arrest affidavit will tell us so much. And that I really hope that people, once the arrest affidavit drops, we'll likely launch a live stream here. We'll comb through it. We'll go through it, a lot of it live. And hopefully, look, arrest affidavits, I've gone through, I can't, countless arrest affidavits. I'm just hoping that the redactions are minimal, because the redactions, so many times there's so much hype surrounding an arrest affidavit as investigators detail, what evidence they have. But there is, of course, a process that has to go through before it's released to the public, and redactions are made for the integrity of the ongoing investigation for the legal process. Redactions exist in different forms in different jurisdictions. So we're just hoping that the redactions in and of themselves are minimal, so that we can get the, a clear picture as to what evidence is against Kohberger. Again, if you're just joining us, JB and Josh here with you. We are awaiting a 4:30 press conference from PA. And I'm getting that that's set up now.
Oh, what did he say? I thought he said they were setting the conference up now, but I guess not.
Okay, so that's.
I didn't forget my
I'm just shooting a
poop
note out
bags,
to our
Isabel.
teams to make sure that we have that.
I'm one of those.
I may have
people,
to
like,
jump
when I'm
and get
walking
onto
my
the
dogs and things,
newscast,
Thank you guys all for waiting for me to walk the
How long do
dogs,
you
and I
think?
actually made it back before.
Well, we got the
4:15,
presser
so let me
coming
change
up
my
in
banner.
20 minutes. Up to you. You're my streaming
yeah,
partner in crime.
so-
I could come back.
I'm glad I took
Okay.
him out too, because my older dog had to poo, and I would
It
have
depends,
felt
of
bad.
course, on.
But
You don't like
they
to
would have
leave a
just let
man
me know
hanging
in a little bit.
No.
if they needed me, but
on an
yeah,
island.
no. So as
Josh,
I'm walking,
you
This is
I
this is a
have
tough
two
job to
dogs.
do by
Josh.
yourself,
One
right?
of them
You
is
complete me,
scared
Josh.
of
How many times have you done this by
everything.
yourself?
The
A lot.
other one is
And it's a lot
scared- or
easier
scared
when
of
I
tread
have-
water
like
and just
she
keep
wants
it
to go
going.
up other than
Teamwork
the
makes the
vacuum.
stream
She
work.
wants to,
But
like,
yeah,
go
but
after
it's
other
nice
dogs.
to have
She's kind
people
of aggressive.
commenting. It's real-time
We got her
commenting.
3 years,
awesome.
like after she
Here's
was
what we're gonna do,
born,
folks.
she was on the streets of, like,
We are going to
Columbus, which is a big
momentarily
city where we're from,
take a
and,
3-minute break
she just doesn't know
in
how to,
preparation
be
for
around other
the
animals
4:30
because of
press
that.
conference. I'll be able to take
So,
our.
I always make sure I'm, like,
I'll be able to
getting my
talk to our
poop bags
team in
ready
person
and, like,
just to
have
make
them
sure
on
that
my hand
we're
pretty
getting a
much,
feed,
because if I,
and
there's so many other dogs in the neighborhood.
so we will
So
be
I was
more
really quick,
equipped
I
and
felt
best equipped to handle the
'Cause I literally
4:30
went
press
straight out,
conference.
got my
It will
shoes
take
on,
about a
straight out the door, 'cause we live on
3-minute
the second
break.
story,
So
too,
don't go anywhere, folks. We will be right back
But I
here
don't
on
think I missed
WFLA.
much. It looks like they're just going over questions and answers, which is good. I was glad I was able to leave you guys listening to something, so you guys didn't have to just sit there and, like, wait. But I didn't want to have to do, like, a whole new thumbnail and then do a whole new live, because then that would just be, like, craziness. But I wonder what the press conference is going to be about. You haven't missed anything, Pretty K. We actually just came back together. I just got back on. I had to take the dogs for a little walk. We actually just saw him go. So we just saw Bryan Kohberger go into court. He went into court and he signed paperwork saying that he wasn't going to fight the extradition process. And now we're waiting on a 4:30 press conference. So we're just hanging around until the press conference. You kept yourself occupied? Yeah, I figured you guys would. Is this the officer right here? That he's the attractive officer, the one with the door, the one with his hand on the door. Look at this guy. He's a good-looking officer. I don't know if you guys saw him whenever he was walking beside dude, but he should have been by dude the whole time, not little guy. Look at him. He's like, I'll let you in here. They could have, you know, at least given us a couple more seconds. We did get to see him again when he walks, like through the through the courthouse. So I wonder how the families are doing right now, the victims' families. If there's anything we're missing. He has a nice booty, he does. I was looking at him whenever they were coming in the court. I was like, dang. I was like, looky there. Looky there. That's the Pennsylvania life right there. That's homegrown boys. Big boys. I'm from Pennsylvania. Once upon a time. Can you hear the coughing in the background? Let me know if you can. Because there's a guy outside that smokes. And I don't want to leave the window closed because I get so hot. But I don't know if the mic picks it up. I don't think it does. So. Yeah, look at those tattoos. Well, hello, officer. What time is it? It is 4:15 now, so we have about 15 minutes till the press conference. Oh, the picture's small because you're on your phone. Oh, yeah, I have like a bigger screen now. So now I'm seeing all the stuff. Hopefully my dogs aren't devouring anything out in the room right now. Hopefully not. So let me see. We have 15 minutes. Let's see what Bryan Eaton was saying. If he said anything else while we're waiting. Because it looked like he had 1 or 3 tweets that were going to come out. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. So let's see here. Bryan Kohberger waived his extradition hearing. I can maybe make this bigger for you. Yeah. He had to sign a waiver in court. The judge explained to Kohberger that the charges against him in Idaho and that he was voluntarily allowing authorities to transfer him to Idaho. So then he says, I'm going to retweet this. But it says Kohberger told the judge he is not on any medication that would impact him making the decision. The judge said he has to be sent to Idaho within 10 days. Kohberger came into the court and made eye contact with his family sitting in the front row. He nodded at them. His mom cried, oh, and his sister comforted the mom. A deputy brought her tissues. I feel bad for his mother. It's not her fault. Yeah, that officer, though, he can arrest me anytime. I do feel bad for his family. Like, so I don't think that I don't think any of the victims' families were in court today. And I believe that we're going to see the victims' families come together with the suspect's family. I feel like in court, they're those kind of people. Dog's broken to something. I have to yell at her. Okay. Yeah, I said we have some time. So that was just, yeah, that was all that Bryan had to say. This is old. Hold on one second, guys. Let me go shut the door. Sorry about that. That's the one that's scared of everything. She was barking up a storm. We have, if you look out, if you're on top of the bed, you can see out far, so she'll see people walking because we live up so high and she'll bark at them and they have nothing to do with anything. But believe me, if anyone's near the house, I'll know. That dang dog. Okay, let's see. I'm going to, see what's going on too. I wanted to see, I don't think there's going to be anything like that we haven't seen, you know what I mean? Since we've kind of been hanging out. Because it's all going to be just him, kind of what we went over, you know, like that he says that he's not going to fight extradition and all that good stuff. So let's see. Like you sent me something. I think I only got like half the message.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
I'm sorry that was like in La La Land there for a minute. I was just trying to see what was.
WFLA
I didn't get the. I saw the.
will
I didn't see the
begin
video
momentarily.
part. I just saw the like what you wrote. I don't know, Pretty K. I'm wondering the same thing. To me, I mean, he looks guilty. And to me, he looks capable of committing this crime. That's the sad thing about it. Like I don't know what I thought he would look like.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JV Buno.
Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger leaving the courtroom after agreeing to waive his extradition, sending him back to Idaho to answer to 4 first-degree murder charges. And now just into the WFLA Now Stream Center, a feed from Pennsylvania, where Pennsylvania State Police will be speaking momentarily, giving their very latest on the case. JB here with you live, folks, on WFLA Now, alongside my colleague, WFLA's Josh Benson, hanging out with us here in the Stream Center. Again, the very latest on this story on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We just got in the feed moments ago from Pennsylvania State Police. They are going to be speaking. They have called a press conference here today. The exact reason for their press conference, I believe, I guess we'll find out here momentarily, but the exact reason why they are calling a press conference wasn't made exactly clear. They just want to discuss details, questions that they have been being asked about the apprehension of Bryan Kohberger, wanted, of course, and the suspect in
the video a minute ago,
University of Idaho stabbing deaths. So this is the feed here in the center of your screen. We're about 5 to 10 minutes away, Josh.
Yep. Yeah, and we just heard the actually watched obviously the video of Kohberger coming in and out of the hearing, the extradition hearing. A lot of people asking what happened inside of that hearing, and I'm starting to see some of the notes from some of the reporters. Bradley Warren's a reporter out there who was in the courtroom. He said, he kept looking at his mom and his sisters. At some point, he mouthed out something to them that was unclear, but he said that he made the decision voluntary, nothing more than yes. And I understand. We also found out that Ann Taylor will be the public attorney in Idaho when he is extradited back to the state of Idaho. So we're getting a few details of what happened during that hearing, as well as what's going to happen once he's extradited in terms of his defense.
Just confirm. So a public defender in Idaho.
Ann Taylor is her name, right?
Right. So a public defender representing him in Pennsylvania, and then of course a public defender representing him in Moscow, Idaho. As we see here, look at the size of the group of media that have assembled here in the room. Really not all that surprised considering the magnitude of the case. But as soon as this press conference gets underway, we will of course turn up the audio. We will listen in and we'll take you here live, full screen. And in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll answer some questions here out of the YouTube Live comment section. We're about to relaunch on Facebook Live. Jordan asking, hashtags for us both, do you think that because he studies criminology, he has a plan? You know,
No.
I would imagine that the plan is very fluid and coming together. This is something that is going across now a couple of different states.
Before we
but,
get started in watching the press conference,
does
if you're
his
just
does
now
his
joining us,
you know
if you could, please
does
hit the
his
like
degree in
button,
criminology
subscribe to the
inform him
channel,
on having
first and foremost,
on having a plan?
legalities.
We really
And
don't know the answer to this question.
Well, I think,
Also,
and the
we're
bigger
watching- we're
question
getting ready
is,
to watch
you know,
Bryan
he's dealing with public
Kohberger.
defenders.
He was,
Does he not have an
arraigned
attorney,
today,
nor maybe doesn't have the
arraigned
money
on,
to afford an
extradition
attorney,
charges,
a
like,
high-profile
the
attorney that's going to come out and
process. That's
represent
what
him in
we're
this
going
case?
over.
No bigger,
They
higher-profile
decided
attorney has
Pennsylvania,
come to
Monroe
say, "I
County
want to
decided to hold a
represent
press
this
conference,
person,"
and
as of what we're
none of us are
learning,
really
because
sure
there's
why,
Ann
but we
Taylor,
are
this
waiting
chief
to
public
watch.
defender in
So it's
Kootenai
getting ready to
County, if I'm
start
pronouncing
at
that right,
4:30, so
will
we
be the one
have just
representing
about
him.
5
So,
minutes
as you
until
said,
it
JB,
goes ahead and it
from
starts.
Pennsylvania to Idaho, he's dealing with public defenders. So, as far as having a plan from criminology, I mean, it's too early to tell, you know, what his plans are.
Yeah, I can't
does he
believe
have a
all
knowledge
of
of?
the officers there with
Well,
the
we're not going to go
guns.
down that route, because I could easily
I've
go down that
never
route. But
seen
I think a
that.
lot of people on social media have gone down that route. What does he
Like, I
know
don't think
from
I've ever
his
seen that.
degree in criminology or his PhD studies? You know, what does he know about situations like this?
Press conference.
It's all speculation, and I think right now all he needs to focus on is getting the defender in place, going to Idaho, and trying to exonerate himself from these charges. I think that's primarily the focus.
We will. Yeah, a lot of these questions are going to become more clear over time, and really, we might get some answers in this press conference. Which
and then they also did say
again,
that he was
I'll
a
admit,
model
I'm a little,
prisoner, or, model
I'm
jailer or
curious
whatever,
as
since
to
he's been in there.
really what the
And I believe
subject
that came
matter,
from
the
the
exact
warden.
subject matter is going to be for this press conference. But I guess look, we're going to find out here momentarily. Police have something to say, and
So
of
I
course
guess we
we're
can go
going
ahead and
to
debunk
be
that.
listening with
That lady was not
with our
correct.
pens on the ready to take notes,
Or
because
she just wanted some clout or
this is
something.
now leaving the Pennsylvania arena and going into the legal arena in Idaho, and
it
that's
could
where
be
the
in the
story
same
will
building.
continue from this point forward. So, also too, have we heard any
Yeah,
any
this could
details
be.
on when the extradition is actually going to begin? I believe the way that it works, and I'm not speaking here with a high degree of confidence, but a relatively
he's not speaking with a high
moderate degree of confidence in that Idaho
Yeah, I think
arranges
they're
for,
waiting on
of
him.
course,
They're
the
wanting him
extradition
to.
to the actual transport from one state to the other. It's something that really Idaho is responsible for. So what, look, we might find that out by the end of today as to, look, is he going to be flying? Is it going to be a drive?
And the judge said the limit is 10 days. So it has to be done within 10 days. Sometimes this happens within 72 hours is what I've been seeing a lot of. So yeah, it's going to come down. And the suspect,
going in the right direction,
I would
though.
imagine you'd want to
And
get there as
I'm
quickly
just-
as possible, because to avoid
I'm just
having to
excited
sit
for
in
him to
jail
get back
any
to
longer in
Idaho and
Pennsylvania.
for this fall
I
to
think
start
that
rolling the.
I think we'll see it in
you
the
know,
next few days. Personally, that's what I think is going to happen.
True crime junkie, #KJB. I thought
He's like, I'm
that
gonna
for sure he
text
would have a
over there
high
and I'm gonna
profile
tell them I
lawyer
want
to represent
them
him.
to answer my
I wonder if
question.
that is going to change.
Well,
How's he have his
that's
cell phone? Hold
I
on a
was
second.
talking
How's
to
he
my
have
wife
his
about
cell
this
phone? You're
last
not
night,
supposed to have
and
any
she made a
cell
good point. She's like,
phones.
maybe he doesn't have
Or
the
maybe the
money. I
press
mean, he's a
conference you
student.
can't actually.
Maybe he
Never
just
mind, that was
doesn't
the
have,
courtroom.
if you
JK.
ask yourself, if you were committed of a crime right now, do you have access to money to hire they could cost in the hundreds of thousands
And
of
they have the
dollars on a
question
retainer,
on the
depending on how big
screen
of
here. It
an
says, I
attorney
thought for
you
sure
get.
he would have a high-profile
so,
lawyer to represent him. I wonder.
yeah, maybe
if
that's
that
the
is
case,
going
or
to
maybe
change.
a
I think it
higher
will. I
profile
think he'll
attorney
get a
will
better
come
lawyer
in
once he goes
to
back.
offer to do it and to be on his defense team.
I know. I'm
We've
so
seen that in
curious
the
about what
past.
this is about
So,
too.
I mean, just the fact that we have a name now as a public defender, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's
looked
going to
down
be
at
through
my-
the proceedings.
Okay, so normally
Yeah,
I have my iPad here so I can see the chat.
Will there be?
I didn't realize I had
an
I
attorney
clicked on
taking this
someone
pro
else's
bono.
live.
I mean, my
And I'm
goodness.
like, who in the heck is all in my
I guess,
chat? Like,
look, a lot of that is going to be answered
all
in
these, like,
the
wrenches and
days
stuff. I was like,
and
what
weeks
is that?
ahead.
What's
But
But you got to believe there's a lot of defense attorneys out there wanting to make a name for themselves who said this is one of the biggest cases now in the world that people are talking about. I'm going to hitch my wagon to it and try to get this guy
should be
off the
getting
charges.
ready to start.
yeah,
any
I
time
mean,
now.
an arrest
I'm gonna have to get me
affidavit
one.
That's not far-fetched.
This thing's
getting
not very
released and then the evidence becoming
It
more
is, but it
clear might
isn't.
also look. Attorneys far and
Ooh,
wide are
little
going to be
fist
looking at
bump,
that arrest
little
affidavit to
fist
see
bump
just
there
exactly
action.
how much they
what
have
they're
on
got
him.
dealing
him.
with, right?
Yep.
Little, we're gonna get rid of them.
So where is this now? Is this the police headquarters?
Yeah,
or
let me
the
get the exact
state
location.
police?
People are ready to go
Let me get
back
the
to
exact
their,
location.
their, you know,
That's a
their
tiny
sleepy
room.
little town or whatever. I don't know if it's a sleepy little town that he lives in, but
This is the
they're probably
Monroe
ready for it to
County
go back to some
District
sort of
Attorney's
normalcy,
Office
like get him the hell out of here.
in Stroudsburg, PA.
Yeah,
so the
I'm
same
wondering
county,
if he's still in the building
so not
too.
too far away. In fact, reporters might be heading
'Cause
over
why have all the guns?
to this
You're right.
location, you know, going from the courthouse over here.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And we never seen him leave.
So this is about to get
I haven't seen
underway.
him
We'll
leave
continue
yet.
to answer some questions while we have another, well, really, it's 4:29, so that snuck up on me. This will begin
maybe he's
momentarily.
going
Let's
up
bring up
there.
our audio here for
Maybe?
the first time.
Here we go, guys.
And here are
Oh yeah, they're starting. Okay.
Pennsylvania State
right
Police.
on time. I love it.
And I'll
let's
try to
listen in.
write down questions and listen really well too.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Adam Reed. I'm the Director of the Communications Office with the Pennsylvania State Police. Thank you for joining us here. The order of speakers is going to be our Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner, Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Major Christopher Paris, he's our Area 3 Commander, and First Assistant District Attorney, Monroe County, Mike Mancuso. After the speakers have finished, we will then take a handful of questions. Colonel Ivanchik.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Robert Ivanchik, Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police. While I monitored the investigation into the horrific murders of the University of Idaho students, I did not imagine the investigation would lead to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My heart goes out to the families of the victims, their friends, the community of Moscow, and the University of Idaho. No words can heal the pain associated with the loss of a child. Their young lives were ended far too soon. In law enforcement, we understand the best thing we can do for victims and their families is to follow every lead, collect every piece of evidence, and bring those responsible to justice. I am proud of the members of the Pennsylvania State Police who were able to help in this investigation. The cooperative relationship between our local, state, and federal partners stands the test of time. The officers, troopers, and federal agents work together tirelessly, putting in long, difficult hours. Communication and cooperation are imperative to success and to ensure the integrity of the case remains maintained. The culmination of that cooperation ultimately led to take the suspect into custody and afforded the families some sense of peace they deserve. I want to thank the Moscow Police Department, the Idaho State Police, and our partners in the Federal Bureau of Investigation for their support, assistance, and coordination. I also want to recognize the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. And finally, I need to acknowledge the members of the Pennsylvania State Police, specifically members of Troop N, our Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and our Bureau of Emergency and Special Operations, who assisted in safely taking the suspect into custody in the early morning hours of December 30th. As previously indicated by Chief James Fry of the Moscow Police Department, specific details regarding this investigation cannot be released until the suspect is extradited to Idaho and presented with the probable cause affidavit. At this time, I will turn the microphone over to Major Christopher Paris, Commander of Area 3, who was involved in the coordinated efforts to take the suspect into custody.
Thank you, Colonel. Area 3 comprises troops F, P, N, and R, and is made up of 1,000 approximately of the women and men, civilian and enlisted, in the northeastern part of Pennsylvania. I'd like to introduce to my left Captain Norm Kramer, who's the commander of Troop N Hazelton, which is comprised of Carbon, Monroe, Columbia, and parts of Luzerne counties. I would like to reiterate, as the colonel said, that Idaho law prohibits any release of information contained within the affidavits. So we're going to do our best today to talk about what phase we are currently in the investigation, and it has entered a new phase with the waiver for extradition. And the continuing primary goal is the seeking of justice through successful prosecution and conviction, bearing the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So with that in mind, we're trying to balance essentially two things: the public's desire for information against the need to maintain the integrity of the investigation and protect the suspects, accused at this point's due process. So I'll now attempt to give you an operational picture with the best information I can release at the time. So this begins when the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation troopers were contacted by the FBI about assisting with surveillance of the accused in this case. I'd like to take the opportunity to specifically thank several individuals. Special Agent in Charge Jackie McGuire and Assistant Special Agent in Charge Dave Carter from the Philadelphia Field Division, as well as Supervisory Special Agent Bill Vigorito of the Scranton RA. We're very lucky in PSP to have a collaborative relationship with the Bureau, both in Pennsylvania and beyond, and their people are absolutely excellent. So as the investigation progressed, Troop N Criminal Investigation Section, commanded by Captain Kramer over my left shoulder here, began to collaborate with authorities in Idaho. Specifically, I'd like to acknowledge Lieutenant James Curto, who was here today, Sergeant Anthony Ferdinand, Corporal John Chulak, who is not present with us, and Troopers Leary and Knoll, who are here with us today. It was through this collaboration and the charges pending in Idaho that those troopers were able to obtain search warrants and a fugitive justice warrant that was prepared here in Monroe County for the location in Chestnut Hill Township and the fugitive from justice warrant for Mr. Kohberger, respectively. I'd like to acknowledge the Monroe County District Attorney, David Christine, as well as First Assistant Mike Mancuso and their entire office. The support that we received was absolutely excellent. Once those warrants were obtained, the Bureau of Emergency and Special Operations, BESO, coordinates our Special Emergency Response Team, CERT. They were selected to serve those warrants, the 3 search warrants and the fugitive from justice warrant. To define what CERT is, it's a full-time tactical team maintained by PSP to deal with high-risk warrant situations, barricades, and other incidents requiring specialized tactical training or other capabilities. From their perspective, we essentially task them to go out and serve a arrest warrant for someone accused of a quadruple murder. They're activated several hundred times a year throughout the Commonwealth. We don't typically hear of their work in a forum like this because they serve the warrant, the person's taken into custody, and they go about their assignment. They are the ultimate professionals. It's a volunteer team. They're highly trained and highly motivated. Captain Norm Kramer over my left shoulder was assigned as the top comm for the CERT activation, which means he was responsible for coordinating our tactical preparations. So tactical assets were then staged in the county, in Monroe County, into the evening of Thursday, December 29th, last Thursday. And in the early hours of Friday, December 30th, those warrants were executed at the location. Mr. Kohberger was taken into custody without incident. The scene was turned over to the FBI Evidence Response Team for processing. Mr. Kohberger was then turned over to the Monroe County Prison, where he has remained in their custody since. I'd like to thank the Monroe County Sheriff and the Stroud Regional Police Department for their support as well during the extradition process. Arrangements currently are being made to deliver Kohberger back to Idaho, where he can have continued due process and face these charges. So it's with that I will turn it over to First Assistant Mike Mancuso.
Thank you, Major. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Mancuso with the DA's office, the First Assistant District Attorney. I want to give my condolences to the families of the victims out in Idaho for their loss. It's my sincere hope that this marks a clear step in the right direction of effectuating justice for those folks. My office's role was relatively recent. We weren't advised of the presence of the defendant in our county until only a couple days before the apprehension of the defendant. But when we were told, we came together and worked very closely with Captain Kramer, who did an excellent job in almost like a clockwork operation. Part of my duties were to ensure that 3 separate search warrants were issued. Those affidavits attached to those search warrants are still under seal, so I can't discuss their contents with you. But one was for the person of Mr. Kohberger, collecting DNA and photographs, that sort of thing. One was for the white Elantra vehicle, which I understand has been seized and is being processed. And one was for the address, the residence itself that he was living in with his family. I was at the scene, and I have to say that Major Paris and Captain Norm Kramer did an outstanding job in coordinating the efforts, not only of the numerous Pennsylvania State Police troopers there, but officers from other jurisdictions and disciplines within those jurisdictions, which
I was going back because I just wanted to see exactly what warrants they searched or they served, because I heard him say the car and then the address. So sorry, guys, just 1 second.
I understand has been seized and is being processed. And one was for the address, the residence, until only a couple days before the apprehension of the defendant. But when we were told, we came together and worked very closely with Captain Kramer, who did an excellent job in almost like a clockwork operation. Part of my duties were to ensure that 3 separate search warrants were issued. Those affidavits attached to those search warrants are still under seal, so I can't discuss their contents with you. But one was for the person of Mr. Kohberger, collecting DNA and photographs, that sort of thing. One was for the white Elantra vehicle, which I understand has been seized and is being processed. And one was for the address, the residence itself that he was living in with his family. I was at the scene, and I have to say that Major Paris and Captain Norm Kramer did an outstanding job in coordinating the efforts, not only of the numerous Pennsylvania State Police troopers there, but officers from other jurisdictions and disciplines within those jurisdictions to make this a very smooth, highly competent professional operation. It is a quirk, apparently. It's not in the norm of the states I'm familiar with that Idaho does not release their probable cause affidavit in support of their arrest warrant until after their defendant is returned to that state. But having read those documents and the sealed affidavits of probable cause, I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents. So that's a significant development. Beyond that, looking at the scope of the situation and the ties this defendant has to my county, I would hold our office at the disposal of the Idaho authorities to help facilitate a complete background investigation into the defendant, both activities prior to the murders occurring within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and his activities after the murders in Pennsylvania. So we stand ready to assist with that effort on an ongoing basis. Thank you. We can now open it up for questions.
Can you tell us what state police specifically did, or can you give us any indication as to the operations of state police when you were notified? You talk about putting tactical in the area. How long were they there? And what's the...
We're not in a position to give you an exact time. It was at some point prior to when the surveillance was taken, as the investigation progressed to a point where search warrants could be obtained and the probable cause for those search warrants and an arrest warrant, a fugitive from justice warrant based on the arrest warrant out in Idaho were obtained. We began to take the tactical steps to plan to serve them.
Were you collecting evidence prior to his arrest?
At this point, like we said, it's very much pertinent to what's in the affidavits, which we cannot speak about.
What's it about his demeanor when the arrest actually happened?
Present sense impression, as likewise ongoing investigation, can't discuss it.
How
Rob Mann, 69 News. How is Kohberger being transported back to Idaho?
Those arrangements are being discussed right now, as well as the logistics. The court order says, those of you who heard it today, it's within the next 10 days, so we're currently working on that in coordination with authorities out in Idaho. Sir?
The defendant's mother in court.
I can't comment. I don't know.
Is he being held in the Monroe County Jail until he's extradited, or is he removed to another?
No, he is lodged in the, since he was dropped off there Friday morning, he's resided in Monroe County Prison.
Still, and until he's
Correct, yes.
extradited, he'll be there?
Are the marshals moving him, or which group?
At this point, that's still being coordinated between the state police and the authorities out there. We don't know.
Will the affidavit be unsealed when he arrives in Idaho?
I don't want to speak out of my lane. When I watched the press conference on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I was alerted to the fact that according to Idaho state law, that the affidavits have to be served to him once he's extradited back before they could be unsealed.
Did he say, has anyone else been arrested?
Ongoing investigation. ma'am.
Has a motive been determined?
I can't comment on that either. I apologize.
Who transports him, sir? Does Pennsylvania State Police, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department?
He's presently back. He was transported from the courthouse by Monroe County Sheriff. And the logistics of who's going to transport him out to Idaho are still being discussed. We don't know. Yeah.
Can you confirm the time of his arrest and how much law enforcement presence there actually was?
I would say it was in the early morning hours of Friday, December 30th. Tactical assets on scene were probably in the neighborhood of 50.
Were you afraid he was going to get tipped off before you got him?
I would say overall about this entire operation, and the credit goes, this is a part that the state police played humbly. You look at Moscow Police Department, 38 sworn, 19,000 leads, the video evidence that they had to develop in order to put that out, all public source information. But when you talk about the service of a high-risk warrant for someone who's committed or alleged to have committed 4 homicides, there's nothing routine about that. And all of those tactical steps that were taken were in conjunction with the best efforts of the authorities, local, state, and federal, both in Idaho and here, to ensure that we could do it safely and to ensure that we could get him into custody and that those service of the search warrants could occur.
Sir, can we ask a question of the first assistant district attorney? Mr. Mancuso, you described having read to a degree the contents of that affidavit of probable cause, and that you possibly speculated or theorized that he wanted to get back to read that as well, since he can't read that. Can you give us an indication, though, of the seriousness of what you did read? I know you can't talk about it, but can you share with us something?
Yeah, I can't get into the details, sir, but I can say it involved the defendant's connection to a scene of a crime consisting of 4 murdered people. So that's the significance of it.
Can you confirm that there is a connection between Bryan Kohberger and any of the victims?
I can't discuss that, ma'am.
How confident are you that he is guilty of these crimes?
That wouldn't be my place to say. Certainly confident enough that there was ample probable cause for the issuance of the various warrants in the case.
What was your reaction when you heard this? You've all talked about, you followed this. This happened states away. When you get that call, or you all get the call, that this person could be right here in your home area, what's your reaction?
Well, I was surprised. Really, Monroe County, of all places, it hits close to home. It's a normal human reaction, I would think, under the circumstances.
Do you know when he and his father left Idaho or Washington and drove to Pennsylvania, what that date was?
No, I don't know the exact date, ma'am.
Approximately, we understand the middle of December, is that correct?
I think that's approximate.
And what about, we had heard reports that they were stopped not once but twice on the highway. Can you elaborate?
I'll defer to his Pennsylvania public defender on that.
Do you have reason to believe that Kohberger is connected to other crimes and unsolved mysteries in the area?
I wouldn't answer that question at this time.
We start looking at some that may be unsolved where he was around.
That would be a normal thing to do.
Question for the PSP here. Said he was taken without incident. Was it safe to say that, I shouldn't say it's safe to say, but did it seem like he was expecting?
I wouldn't comment on what his present sense was. I would just comment that the professionalism of the CERT team and their tactical training definitely proved in a situation like this to do it in the most tactically sound and fastest way possible.
Was there anybody else in the house at the time?
Yes, parents were in the house at the
Did
time.
they say anything to you?
Again, present sense impression, I can't comment on that, an ongoing investigation.
You break down the door.
Force was used, the warrants were issued for evening search warrants, which in Pennsylvania requires additional probable cause in order to serve them at the hours of darkness. I would defer to the first assistant to talk about the legal burden that you bear in order to obtain those, but from a tactical standpoint, based upon all of the briefings that we had developed and all of the intelligence we had developed, we thought that was the best time to serve it.
And what tipped off that Pennsylvania was involved with this?
We were alerted by the FBI. Troopers in the Bureau of Criminal Investigation were alerted.
Anything on like his social media pages that tipped anything?
I can't comment. I don't know.
So has parents been cooperative in this whole process?
Can't comment. Ongoing, like I said. The state police's role here was to serve the warrants and assist with the surveillance, which we've done. We've been part of major investigations. You know, these are men and women who take an oath to protect their communities and the Commonwealth here. We're very humbled with the opportunity that we had, given a case that has really gained international attention, to play a small part in it. And our hat is off to Moscow PD, again, with the size and the complexity of this investigation and the work that they've done to get us here today. And this is only the beginning of the next step.
If it's determined that anyone here in Pennsylvania either helped to conceal or dispose of any evidence, then you would be a part of this case, or would it go to...
I would say that we would pledge whatever support we can for ongoing investigations with the Idaho authorities here in Pennsylvania. Absolutely, we would help them in any way we could.
Were there any weapons found in the home?
I don't want to get into what was actually seized in the house pursuant to the evidentiary nature of it.
Can you give any insight into why you all decided to go in overnight to make the arrest?
Those are tactical decisions in terms of base surveillance. I don't want to give out too many tactical factors that go into that situation, but obviously surveillance was conducted, and we wanted to go in at a time when we thought it would be the safest for everybody, safest for anybody else in the house, safest for Mr. Kohberger, and safest for our people.
There was an interesting question asked earlier about the care that needed to be taken to not tip the suspect off. Could you describe how long that lid had to be on things, and how many people were involved in it? Like, how many people knew and for how long?
So I would say, I would answer the question this way. I don't want to get into a timeline in terms of when we were notified by the FBI and when the surveillance.
I wanted to say something really quick, because he was talking about, someone asked a question about, you know, like the force that was used and why they went under the cover like darkness, and why they used the force that they used. And he said that they had to use that because of what they've seen, what they like witnessed when they were surveilling him. So I'm wondering what they saw while they were watching him, that they thought in their head that they needed to use serious force and go under the cover of darkness. Like, they blew out the windows of this house and the door. Like, they weren't messing around. Like, they didn't go up and do a knock and greet and say, "Hi, we're just here to talk to your son." No, they didn't even do the cop knock, like the boom, boom, boom knock. They freaking blew the windows out. There's duct tape on their front door to these people's homes now. So they must have seen something. I'm wondering, what if he like got rid of the murder weapon or something along those lines, or if he was shopping for a knife, or I don't know. I would just feel like they would have to have like some sort of weapon like involved for them to think that they needed to use force like that on him, because I mean, he's a smaller guy. I don't know.
Surveillance began. Obviously, we know on Thursday night into Friday morning is when the warrants were served. I would say, as a credit to the professionals, both standing behind me and others not here, many others not here, the information was held very close. And we did not want to have any situation where Mr. Kohberger potentially would be tipped off. So as a result of that, I would say a close number of approximately 7 to 8 individuals, maybe 10 on the most within the PSP side of this operation knew about it.
And for days, can we say? Or?
I would say for a period of time. I would not feel comfortable commenting any more than that, for a period of time. And then as the tactical assets were brought in, people were briefed.
When the movement plan is finally decided? Will there be an announcement? Will
Not from the state police, so we would defer to Moscow and the authorities in Idaho.
when he starts leaving Pennsylvania?
Well, we have security concerns now, obviously, to move any prisoner. Anytime you move somebody from a secure prison to another place, we don't want to, there won't be an announcement from the state police in terms of those logistics, but they're being worked on right now.
Can you give us your best guess when you think he might be moved roughly? Tomorrow?
We would like to do it as soon as possible, but the court order says 10 days. We have 10 days to coordinate it.
Can you possibly be on a plane tonight? Is it possible he could be on a plane tonight? That's a possibility, right?
I would think that's probably not likely.
A private plane, or would you?
She is.
We're looking into that right now.
He's ready to get rid of him.
Deny that a window was broken in order to gain access into the home?
There were multiple windows that were broken, I believe, to gain access, as well as multiple doors. I think the video of the house after the fact confirms that. And that would all be part of the tactical plan based on the floor plan of the house, et cetera, and what the CERT operators would do to serve those warrants.
Was this suspect on your radar before, and are you looking at any connections?
I wouldn't comment on that based on the ongoing nature.
But how about did he have a criminal past? According to the UJS, I didn't see anything.
I can't comment on a person's criminal history during an ongoing investigation.
Sorry, Mr. Mancuso said that you stand ready to assist in giving the complete background of the defendant. What specifically is law enforcement interested in?
That'll be the last question after Mr. Mancuso answers.
In any case of this nature, and I prosecuted a fair share of homicides, double homicides, that sort of thing, you want to look at any evidence of possible motive. You want to look at any evidence of a pattern, of modus operandi or method. You want to get into the subject's character, mental state to the best you can, that sort of thing. So it'll be an all-encompassing effort, which we stand ready for. Okay.
How will you do it?
We have our ways. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Just for a quick spelling, I'll give everyone the spelling of everyone's name. It was included in the media advisory, but just so we have it. So Colonel's last name is
we don't need to know all that.
Ivanchik. EV.
I don't think you guys care to hear about how they spell their name. They couldn't give us anything, but I did write down some stuff. So what did I see? So the commissioner came on and he couldn't say a lot. And then Idaho asked, what did I even write there? Oh my Lord, guys. I can't even read my own handwriting. Also, Idaho asked Pennsylvania to coordinate with them in order to watch him, survey him. And I think you guys were right when you said 4 days. I believe that it was 4 days that they surveyed him. Then the warrant team, I think they called it CERT. It's usually like SWAT, but CERT. And that state took Bryan without incident. I'm sure they took him without incident. They blew the freaking windows out of the house. I wonder if he was hiding. I'd say no, because it says without incident. So I guess he wasn't hiding. Get a typewriter? Are you talking about me? I should. Because I really can't read my own handwriting. It's probably because it's on my bad side too, though. And then in the warrants, they had 3 different warrants that they did serve for his car, his person, like to take videos, I guess to collect any fingernail scrapings, clothing, whatever they wanted to, fibers, his hair, whatever they needed to, prints, whatever they wanted to collect. They went ahead and that was the other warrant. And then the address of his house that his family stays at. So that would be fun, you know? Can you imagine? Your kid comes home for Christmas break and you get served, warrant at your house. And then Pennsylvania thinks, they said they need to know what's in the documents and what evidence they have, it says. It seemed like the prosecutor said that he would want help, like he would help the Idaho police in prosecuting any more crimes that he may have committed, maybe while in PA at his family's house, because he was only in Washington State for a few months, I believe. Oh, I know. That would be nice. I could just like, ching. Yeah, that would, I should get a typewriter. I have like Post-its everywhere. I'm always writing something down. And I have like computers. I should just put it on the computer, but I never do. The parents were at the house whenever the search warrant was executed. They didn't answer any questions if he had the connection with the crime. He did leave in the middle of December. There was really nothing. He has 10 days to be extradited, which I feel like Pennsylvania is ready to extradite his ass like right now. They're like ready to go. They're like, are you ready? Do you have your bags packed? Do you need help? Do you want us to give you anything? Do you, help you get there? It seems like, yeah, they're ready to get rid of him. I'm going to see if Bryan said anything. What is this? Okay, so Bryan Eaton says that it says, just now got the body cam video from the traffic stop involving Bryan Kohberger and his dad while they were driving through Indiana. We'll play it at 5 p.m. on News Nation. 5 p.m. Okay, let's watch it right now. Guys, I don't think we're ever going to get off of here. Let's see if it's like right on the beginning. I don't really want to watch the whole thing of Rush Hour. Let's see.
18 votes. He's received 203 in both rounds of voting so far. Right now, he has 202, a clear sign of fractures in the Republican Party. It's set off chaos on the floor for the new Congress. This vote is now expected to go into a fourth round, and questions over how this ends and who is going to be House Speaker when it finally does. I am Nicole Burley. It's Tuesday, January 3rd. This is News Nation Rush Hour. We'll be following that breaking news from Washington. Of course, we'll bring you any key developments as they happen over the next 2 hours of Rush Hour. But we do want to turn to some breaking news right now in the Idaho murders case. We're getting our very first look. This is Bryan Kohberger, the accused killer of 4 college students, as he made his way into a Pennsylvania courtroom. He waived his extradition hearing. He will be on his way back to Idaho sometime over the course of the next several days. But it could be as soon as tonight. And we could learn even more about what happened inside that house in Moscow. Kohberger was, of course, arrested on Friday. News Nation has learned he was a PhD student at a nearby university studying criminology. Let's bring in now senior national correspondent Bryan Eaton. Bryan, you are there in Pennsylvania with some brand new video.
Yeah, we are, Nicole. We're going to talk about the extradition that's about to happen with Bryan Kohberger in a second. But first, we want to get to some video that News Nation has just obtained within the last 5 minutes or so. If you've been following the story, you know we got information that Kohberger, when he was driving to Pennsylvania here from Washington State, that he drove through Indiana with his dad and that he was pulled over by the police. Well, take a look at this. We just got this body camera video into News Nation of that traffic stop. You can see Bryan Kohberger's dad right there in the passenger seat, and that is Bryan Kohberger driving the white Hyundai Elantra through Indiana on his way back here to Pennsylvania. It's interesting. We slowed down the video. It's hard to hear what's being said because it's so loud with those cars going by in the background. But we know that he was pulled over for speeding. The cop at one point sort of made a joke saying, gosh, you don't fly? I mean, this is such a long drive from Idaho, from Washington State to Pennsylvania. And then something else interesting, Nicole, Bryan Kohberger spoke about being stopped again in Indiana by an SUV, and the police officer sort of makes reference, oh, we don't have SUVs. This could all become very, very important if we find out that Kohberger was actually being tracked during this drive from Washington State back here to Pennsylvania. We're going to be looking into this video very, very closely. Again, we just got it. Okay, let's move on to what happened in court court within the last couple of hours here in Pennsylvania. Kohberger in court for the first time here. He officially waived his extradition hearing. We saw him go into the courthouse. It was our first time seeing him. It was a somewhat routine hearing inside. The judge read him his rights, made sure that this is really what he wanted to do, that he wanted to waive his extradition hearing and get right back to Idaho. And he said yes. He was pretty much stone cold throughout the hearing. When he walked into the courtroom, he glanced over at his family. His parents were there along with his two sisters, sitting right in the front row, right in front of us where we were sitting, the media. He looked at his parents, and his mom started crying. His sister started crying. It was a very emotional moment for the family, and a deputy actually brought them tissues. When will the extradition happen? That is the big question. We thought perhaps he would go right to Idaho from the courthouse. That didn't happen. He was taken back to the jail here in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where he is right now. But we're told the extradition will be happening soon, likely within the next couple of days. Listen to what the district attorney just said here in Pennsylvania.
Idaho does not release their probable cause affidavit in support of their arrest warrant until after their defendant is returned to that state. But having read those documents and the sealed affidavits of probable cause, I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents. So that's a significant development.
Very interesting what the DEA said there. Let me explain it to you, Nicole. Basically, the probable cause affidavit that has all of the information about why Kohberger was arrested, all the evidence that police have, that cannot be released until he is back on the ground in Idaho. Even Kohberger and his attorneys cannot see that document. So they don't even know right now the basic evidence that law enforcement has against Kohberger. So what the DA was saying is essentially he thinks Kohberger wants to get back to Idaho as soon as possible, so his legal team has access to those documents. Nicole?
All right, wow, Bryan Inton with so much new information this afternoon. Thank you for that. Well, as we do wait for Kohberger to land in Idaho, his lawyer says the 28-year-old is eager to be exonerated. It should not be tried in court. Not be tried in the court of public opinion. We are also waiting for a key document, that sealed probable cause affidavit, because it could have crucial information linking Kohberger to the four murders. Correspondent Nancy Liu joins us live now from Moscow, Idaho, with more on the next steps in this case. Nancy.
And Nicole, when Kohberger is transported, he's expected to be brought here to the Latah County Jail, which is in the basement of the county courthouse building, and it is less than 2 miles away from where he allegedly killed 4 students on November 13th.
Where I grew up,
According to the
jail,
Latah County Sheriff's Department, the local jail accommodates just 42 inmates, and the cells are right below the county courthouse. The library features a selection of books, a pull-up bar, and dip bar. That and the small rec yard are constantly monitored, and inmates are allowed an hour a day in either or a combination of both. Soon after authorities announced Kohberger's arrest and the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, County Prosecutor Bill Thompson addressed the next steps.
Once he gets here, he'll have an initial appearance with our magistrate. They'll deal with issues such as making sure competent counsel is representing him, and the case will be scheduled for further hearings.
Should Kohberger be brought back through the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport, it's just a 10-minute drive to the jail. News Nation saw a food delivery this morning at the facility, and a few items would work with Kohberger's vegan diet. Search warrants executed after the Friday arrest resulted in a lot of new evidence from Kohberger's apartment. Authorities also searched his office on the Wazoo campus, the Kohberger home in Pennsylvania, and the white Elantra driven cross-country. In building their case, law enforcement continues to seek tips about Kohberger, urging people to call or email Moscow police.
Come forward. Call the tip line. Report anything you know about him to help the investigators and eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why.
And as we heard from Bryan, the probable cause affidavit, it won't be unsealed until Kohberger arrives back in Idaho. We heard in court in Pennsylvania that his Idaho public defender is Ann Taylor. She's actually based up in Coeur d'Alene in Kootenai County. So we are awaiting details on where exactly he'll be arriving, but the charges he faces are here in Latah County, 4 counts of first-degree murder. Nicole?
Yeah, 4 counts. All right, Nancy, thank you for that. And we do have a program alert for you this Sunday. There's a News Nation special report, Idaho Murder Mystery. Bryan Enton hosting live from the scene of the crime with everything we now know, that the suspected killer is behind bars, how DNA evidence may have led police to him, what the victims' families are saying, and the crucial questions we still need answered. That's this Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, only here on News Nation. Meantime, another big story tonight, frightening moments.
Okie dokie. Yeah, Santa was working overtime, Lady Justice. What was I going to say? No, we'll have to do a live and watch that special report or something on Sunday. That'll be good. It's getting dark outside. When I started this live, it was not dark outside. So, with that being said, I am going to jump off of here. I'm going to see what other dirt I can dig up, you know. If you guys have any idea, or if you see online anywhere I can obtain the arrest affidavit, let me know and I'll buy it and everything. And I'll buy it. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. And we can go over it live. I don't know if it's free or if you have to buy it or not. So, but either way, I can do that. But does anybody have any questions for me before we jump off? Don't forget to like the video, all that good stuff. Okay. Apparently, I hope that Isabel comes back, because apparently 2 Cents is not having it that I put them in timeout. They're trying to like send messages through. But if they're so vulgar, I have to, even if it's not really vulgar, like, I don't know, it'll say on my side. So you can either delete the message or you can show the message. And I just deleted them. So I hope I can just block them. I don't know. I just think that's not right. Isabel's been in our chat for the longest time, and I love her. And even Vincent asked me about Isabel. Isabel, I'm calling her Isabel. It's Isabel. No, Isabel. Okay, I'm calling her right name because he calls her Isabella. So I'm gonna have to get a hold of her because I don't like that. I was just like going up through the chat. So, hi, honey. There we go. Look at you. Oh, you're watching on the big screen. Oh, look at that. I'm big. I always tell myself I'm going to do that on my TV out there, and I never do. So I'm going to get off here. I'm going to, I'm actually going to write down so I don't forget to get a hold of her. Okay, guys. So if you're just now joining us, we are, ending the live now. We've been on for 2 hours, 12 minutes. You guys stuck with me even when I took my dogs out to the restroom. And it looks like it's going to rain here soon, so I might have to take him out to go to the bathroom again really quick before my boyfriend gets home. But thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you guys so much for spending a little part of your day with me. Yeah. Oh, okay. You've been watching. Oh, good. Okay, good. She's been watching. Good. Because when you guys are not here, I remember. So, and speaking of which, one of our girls, Cheryl, I haven't seen her in the chat in a while, and I haven't seen her, so I'm just wondering where she's been. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good night or a good rest of your day or good morning, wherever you're watching. I'll tell Vincent you said hi, and the doggies too. And I will be back on tomorrow to do my next live. And if anything happens tonight, I'll come back on tonight. But I will see you guys all tomorrow, probably 9:15, 10:15, somewhere around that, range. But I'll be on camera, hopefully. I don't see why not. You guys get to see me really nice, really good now. But thank you guys so much for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.